evolutions are a very interesting concept to discuss within the Pokemon community. Some think that they were an unnecessary addition that look over the top and tacky, while others love having new and exciting forms for some of their favorite Pokemon from the past. And with 48 total current Mega Evolutions in the series, it's easy to see that not all of these Mega Evolutions were created equal. So we created a list of every Mega Evolution and ranked them, from Z tier being the absolute best designed Mega Evolutions to F tier being the absolute worst and forgettable designs. Be sure to let us know which Pokemon you think deserves a Mega Evolution, and let's get into it. Starting off, we have Mega Venusaur. In the Kanto starters, Bulbasaur gets the most flack as far as its entire evolutionary line goes, but I do think Mega Venusaur really does work as a Mega Evolution Pokemon. I say this because it feels like a natural progression up from what Venusaur is, while also not being super overwhelming like some of the other Megas are on this list, and we'll get to those, don't worry. As controversial of a take as this may be, I actually genuinely at my core believe Mega Venusaur deserves to be up in Z tier. Mega Y and Mega X Charizard. I've talked about these two before when we did our starters tier list, and I will say I still believe Mega Charizard Y is much better than Mega Charizard X for sure. Mega Charizard Y is just way more subtle, it just works better, it just feels like a natural step up from what Charizard already is, whereas Mega Charizard X just feels like it's got too much going on. Like, you know, you got the black color, you got the flames coming out of the mouth that are blue, the wings are just all serrated and everything. It's just a little too much for a Mega Evolution, whereas Mega Charizard Y is subtle while still being a next evolution. I would put Mega Charizard Y up into Z tier, and I would put Mega Charizard X still into S, but not quite up there in terms of being a legitimately good next step for the evolutionary line. I hope nobody rips my head off for saying that. I still think the design is super sick, but it's not what I would consider to be a Z tier level Mega Evolution. That's just my take. Please, read me out in the comments if you disagree. Mega Blastoise. This one is tacky, and I absolutely hate it, and I don't think anything anyone ever says to me will ever change my mind on how I feel about this. With Blastoise originally, you know, it has the two cannons coming out of its back, and this is like, okay, we're gonna go a step further than that, but we're going really over the top. Not only is he gonna have one big tank cannon on top of his back, but he's also gonna have two little arm blasters, and it's like, there's a little too much happening here. I would go as far as to say that in terms of design, Mega Blastoise falls into that category of Mega Evolutions where it's just super over the top and super unnecessary. We're gonna see a lot more of those on this list, but this is the very first one on this list that I have to give an F tier. It genuinely just feels lazy, like they didn't know what else to do, so they just upped the ante on what they already had, but in like the laziest way. At least with Venusaur, it feels like a subtle step up. With Charizard, it feels like a subtle step up. With Blastoise, it's a major step up, but in the worst way. Mega Beedrill. This one is genuinely fantastic, and I say that because it goes back to what I was saying with the starters, where it takes the core elements of what we originally had and just bumps them up just a little bit, but still enough to where you can tell it's another form, while making it its own form as well. In terms of where I'd rank Mega Beedrill in comparison to the rest of the Mega Evolutions on this list, I would 100% put it up into S tier. Mega Pidgeot. I do really like this one because it looks like, you know, Pidgeot's got that Super Saiyan hair just a little bit, maybe even a little Yu-Gi-Oh hair in there a little bit, you know, sprinkled in, but it doesn't really stand out enough from the OG design of Pidgeot for me to want to put it into S tier. It's still solid, but I don't think it deserves to go any higher than A. Mega Alakazam. Alakazam usually has two spoons, and I really like that they full sent it and just had him holding a bunch of them to really emphasize the whole, like, telekinesis, you know, psychic powers that he's got. And he's also got, like, a beard, so it kind of shows that he's, like, an elderly kind of, you know, psychic guy. I like this one a lot. I would put this one up into S tier alongside Beedrill and Mega X Charizard. Mega Slowbro. This one is a stinker. A genuine, real stinker. Slowbro is the Pokemon that has, like, the other Pokemon biting on its tail, and that's what makes it a Slowbro. And if you didn't know, there's actually a little lore where that shell was originally supposed to be its own Pokemon at some point, and it was supposed to be Slowpoke and that Pokemon combined to be Slowbro, but that never happened. And so in this Mega Evolution, it's Slowpoke, but inside of that shell of that other Pokemon that we never see individually on its own. But this just feels really lazy lazy. And it makes me wonder, like, why did they even decide to make a Mega Evolution for Slowbro of all Pokemon? Like, as I scroll down the list of Mega Evolutions that are on here and that have currently been made, it really does make me wonder, what was the criteria for which Pokemon are decided to have a Mega Evolution and which ones are not? Because there are some really random picks on here. Mega Slowbro, however, goes down into F tier. That just feels stupid lazy. Mega Gengar. This one's super sick. I love this one because it feels like Gengar is kind of going back to that like Haunter route. It also unlocks like a third eye or something, which is really interesting considering that it's a ghost and not a psychic type. That being said, Mega Gengar goes up into S tier for sure. Mega Kangaskhan. I literally cannot tell the difference, if there is any, between regular Kangaskhan and Mega Kangaskhan. Other than the fact that the little baby Kangaskhan that's sitting in the pouch is now actively its own Pokemon. Is that the only difference? Because if that's the only difference, that kind of sucks. I think it would have been interesting if instead of giving Kangaskhan a Mega Evolution where the little guy is in his own pouch, they just gave Kangaskhan a pre-evolution and just gave the little guy its own name. That would have made sense, or made some connection to like Cubone, because that's, you know, what people assign the lore to, right? I don't know, this just feels a little bit lazy to me. I'm gonna put this one into F tier. I guess if I'm putting Mega Slowbro and Mega Kangaskhan into F tier, then I guess I will bring Mega Blastoise up a tier just because it doesn't feel like it belongs with these other two stinkers. I'll put it up into C tier. Mega Pinsir. Okay, I really like Pinsir, but this Mega Evolution is just like, why? Why did we make him like a cockroach? He was kind of like a beetle, you know? He like was like, I'm gonna rip you apart with my little fang thingies. I liked that. I don't like him getting wings and now being like a flying cockroach monstrosity. I don't like that. Like, I don't absolutely despise this. Like, I understand they're going for, you know, a level above regular Pinsir, but like, this is just like, ugh. Like, I don't like looking at it. I wouldn't want that on my team. I don't know how many of you have ever seen a cockroach start flying, or, you know, if you've ever experienced that, but this is kind of what feeling that is evoking. But I don't think Mega Pinsir deserves to go into F tier. I'll put Mega Pinsir into C tier. Mega Gyarados. Gyarados is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, but I do still like the original design more than I like the Mega Evolution. But that's not to say I don't like Mega Gyarados. I just think that the fins are a little too big. And that's like a problem that I have with a couple Mega Evolutions, where it's like the design is good, but it's a little too big in terms of like really having a concise design. And for that, as much as I want to rank Mega Gyarados higher, I think it deserves to go into a solid A tier. It's a good design, but it's a little too much. Kind of like our next entry, Mega Aerodactyl. I love Aerodactyl as well, but dude, this design, ew, man. This feels like some fan art, like some stuff I would have drawn in my notepad when I was like 10, and it doesn't feel like something that is an evolved form or Mega Evolution of what Aerodactyl is. It just feels like we're just tacking some stuff on top of the original design and not really trying to give it its own unique flair. As much as I love Aerodactyl, I think this one goes into C tier. Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y. I love Mega Mewtwo Y. I don't love Mega Mewtwo X. I do think Mega Mewtwo X is a pretty cool design. It does feel like something that could be a natural progression for Mewtwo, but then when you look at Mega Mewtwo Y, it's like, dude, if you could have that instead of the X version, I'm taking that every time. So I don't love Mega Mewtwo X, but I don't hate it, and it's actually going to be our first B tier on this entire list, because I'm very neutral to it. I don't hate it, I don't love it. Mega Mewtwo Y, though, is a very goated form. I think the thing that I like most about this form is that it looks kind of like what Mewtwo could have looked like if his DNA was closer to Mew. Like, this form almost looks like if Mewtwo and Mew original had combined to become one creature, which I think is really interesting considering that Mewtwo obviously was created off of the DNA and cells of Mew original. So I like this one a lot. I will put it up into, you know what? I'll put it up into Z tier just because the lore behind Mewtwo really fits to make this form make sense. Mega Ampharos. Ampharos is one of my favorite Gen 2 Pokemon, and I really like this design. I do think it's kind of weird that Ampharos ends up getting like wool back after not having it in its final form, but it's kind of a cool like callback. It also gets the little orb thing that both forms had before Ampharos, and that Ampharos has in its final form as well. I'm gonna put Ampharos up into like high A tier. I do really like it, but it is a little random how they decided to make the Mega Evolution go into this direction rather than like expanding on Ampharos itself. Mega Steelix. I like Steelix a lot. I love that it's a progression up from Onix itself, and then you have this form, which which actually does feel like a natural progression for this Pokemon to go into. I like the crystals, and I also like that Steelix gets like a little like iron beard or steel beard or whatever that is. For my taste, I would probably put Steelix into like A tier. Mega Caesar. This looks like Mega Man, and it's kind of funny because we're talking about Mega Evolutions. I think this design is really cool, and it feels like something that is, like I've said before, a natural next step for the evolutionary line. I'm gonna put this one up into S. This one's really nice to look at. Mega Heracross. There's not a whole lot to say about Mega Heracross. This actually just feels like something that Heracross could evolve into naturally without it being a Mega Evolution. But as far as design goes, I think this one would go into A tier solidly. It's a very solid next step for Heracross. I think Heracross is a very underrated Pokemon as well. Mega Houndoom. This one is, dare I say, kind of perfect. Like, it's not super over the top, and it feels exactly like what you want out of a Mega Evolution for something like Houndoom. Like, when you look at Houndoom's original form, you know, he's got like the accent marks with all the white all over his body, he's got the horns, and so this form is kind of just accentuating all of what's already been established with Houndoom. It's a good form, I gotta be real. I'm willing to put this one up into S. This one is a very, very solid design. Mega Tyranitar. Now, Tyranitar is a badass Pokemon no matter how you spin it, but I do think this one starts falling into that category of going a little too far with going over the top. I think I would like this form more if it didn't have those really, really big spikes. I think the spikes are fine, but I think they're a little too over the top by how far they extend out. I think as much as I like Tyranitar, I have to put it down into B tier. It's just a very okay form. Like, I wish it were a little more subtle, but I get what they're going for, but it's just, I don't really like it that much. Mega Sceptile. I feel like Mega Sceptile is a pretty good progression up from what we already have with Sceptile originally. My only gripe with this one is that there is a little too much going on with this one, but not quite into the realm where Mega Tyranitar gets into. It's just a couple things that irk me with this one, but overall, Mega Sceptile is pretty solid. I think I'd put Mega Sceptile into probably solid A tier. I just don't really like those little extensions on the arms. It just feels like we're just throwing stuff on for the sake of it when it comes to that sort of thing. Mega Blaziken. This form, every time I look at it, it just makes me more and more sad that there is no Mega Evolution for Infernape. I don't know why they won't do one for Infernape. It's such an iconic Pokemon, and it just makes sense to make one. And every time I look at Mega Blaziken, that's what comes to mind immediately, because this almost feels like something that could be what Infernape's Mega Evolution looks like as well. That being said, Mega Blaziken is a very, very solid design. I think the flames coming off are really good. It's not doing too much because it just kind of adds something to the head and makes some flames come out of the side of the arms. It's not really adding on like a bunch of spikes for no reason. It feels like a natural progression from what Blaziken is, and for that, I would put it up into Z tier for sure. Mega Swampert. I think this one's really ugly. Every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, get it off my screen, please. And with that being said, I'd put Mega Swampert down into C tier. I think it's just, this is not, you know, it's just not fun to look at. Mega Gardevoir. Okay, so this one's kind of in the realm that Mega Kangaskhan falls into, where it really doesn't feel like there is any progression with this one. And it just makes me wonder why this was made a Mega Evolution to begin with, when really it's the exact same design that Gardevoir had with just a bigger skirt. I would put this one down into like, unfortunately, F tier. As much as I like Gardevoir, it's gotta go down there because it's just like, what is that? Mega Sableye. So whenever I look at this one, it makes me wonder, like, is the crystal thing like part of him? Like, if I rip that crystal thing out of Mega Sableye's hand, will it die? Are there like nerves attached inside of its hands connecting it to its gem? How does this work? You know what I mean? There's a couple Pokemon that are like that, where it's like Cubone, for example. He has a bone in his hand, or Marowak also has that too. And it's like, is that bone like part of your DNA? Is there like blood running through that? Like, what happens if I take it away? Like, so with that, I wonder what the hell's going on with Mega Sableye. For whatever reason, they decided to give Mega Sableye a big Legend of Zelda rupee, and that's his Mega Evolution. He stays the same size, but, you know, he gets a big crystal that he holds now. I don't really get this one, and if I had to rank the design, I'd probably put it down into F tier, just because it's like, why did we give Sableye a Mega Evolution and not like our other starters that we've had? Why not the Gen 2 starters? Why not the Gen 4 starters? Why Sableye of all Pokemon? Mega Mawile. This one is a cook. Because Mawile already has that like plant thing coming out the back of its head, I think this one genuinely feels like it could be its actual next evolution without even needing to be a Mega Evolution, which is what I think the best Mega Evolution designs are. I would put Mega Mawile for feeling like a genuine next step in the evolution line that is Mawile, which literally only contains Mawile, into S tier. Mega Aggron. This is a solid design for a next step as well. Aggron itself is already like a big big hulking mass, and this kind of just adds some elements on top of Aggron while also feeling like its own thing and not just like a copy paste of what we already had. I would put Mega Aggron up into S tier. That's a very good looking design. Mega Medicham. Medicham is such a random Pokemon to give a Mega Evolution to, but I do like this one a lot. I would probably put this one in terms of design because it's got those tassels. It feels like something that could be an addition on top of what Medicham already is. I would probably put this one not quite S tier, but very, very high A tier. Mega Manectric. This is kind of what I've been talking about. We just go super over the top and we're like, oh, he's an electric? Oh, just make his whole design a lightning bolt. Whoa! No, this one's kind of poo-poo, kind of diarrhea, kind of cheeks. I don't like looking at it. It just feels like way too much going on. It feels like something you'd see in like modern Pokemon designs where it's just like super big and like, yo, it's an electric guy. I don't know. It's just kind of ugly. I'd put this one into F tier for sure. And that might be like the lowest F tier I give so far. Mega Sharpedo. This one is like very okay. Sharpedo already kind of looks exactly like this one, but they just added some spikes, some literal spikes out the side of its nose, and then added on some more like yellow accents. This one feels to me kind of like what Mega Aerodactyl is, where they just kind of tacked on some stuff and called it a day. I'd put this one into like solid C tier. Mega Camerupt. To me, what this feels like is Macargo and Camerupt together combined to make one Pokemon, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because this design actually is pretty solid. Even though you can't really see it, there are some little feet under the fur, but I think because it's so low to the ground, it makes me want to rank it a little bit lower. I kind of like with the original Camerupt, you can see its legs and like hooves on the ground, whereas this just kind of feels like it's just a big like fur coat that's just draped on the floor, which doesn't really work for the whole design in my opinion, but I think this design's solid enough to put into like, you know, low A tier. Mega Altaria. That's just a cloud, dude. I completely understand what they're going for. You know, Swablu and Altaria already are kind of like bird-esque, and so they're just going full on with that idea, but like, I don't love this that much. If I'm being real with you, it's just kind of like, ew, you know, like not ew, but like, I don't know, I'm at the doctor's office and they're like patting down my boo-boo with the cotton ball. I think I'd probably put Mega Altaria into C tier. Like I said, I understand entirely what they're going for, but like it just misses the mark. Mega Banette. This is such a random Pokemon to give a Mega Evolution. It's a fire design, don't get me wrong, but it's like, why this Pokemon? Why this one in particular? I think Mega Banette really works because on the original design for Banette, and even on this one as well, you have that like zipper mouth, and so giving it a next step where like it has more of those zippers, but like they're being unleashed is a cool concept. I would put Mega Banette up into S tier. I think this genuinely feels like it could be the next actual evolution for this Pokemon. But again, why does Banette have a Mega Evolution? I still don't understand. Mega Absol. I'm kind of neutral on this one. I obviously know what they're going for, but they do give Absol wings without making it a flying type, and also this does just feel like regular Absol with like some stuff tacked on top of it. I don't love this one, but I don't hate it. I would probably put it into B tier along Mega X Mewtwo and Mega Tyranitar. Mega Glalie. This one's just like, okay. Again, I don't love this one, nor do I hate it. It does feel like it's Glalie as a next evolution, I guess. But again, still wondering why they gave this Pokemon an evolution or a Mega Evolution instead of like a lot of the other more recognizable Gen 3 Pokemon. But you know what? This one's okay. I put it in B tier. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Mega Salamence. Okay, this one I'm like very conflicted on because I love Salamence, and I think that Salamence is probably like a top 5 dragon design in the entire series. But the Mega Evolution, I despise that they got rid of its arms. Why did they do that? I understand the wing pattern. I get it. I like the big wing pattern, but they like melded its arms into the wings. And it's like, why? If they just made the wings just that, I probably would have been fine with it. But because it is like this just big ring with no arms, I have to bump it down points. If it had arms still, I think this would have been probably an S tier design. But for me, I would probably put Mega Salamence into like low A tier just because it looks a little goofy while having that like Among Us crewmate body and then having the big moon-shaped wings with no arms. Like, why did they do that? I don't get it. Mega Metagross. I think this one's a really, really good design because the original Metagross was on all fours, and now this one's like floating and it's got its arms kind of like out, similar to how Metang is. So it's kind of going back to the form before while still maintaining the original design that Metagross has, which I can appreciate, because I think Beldum, Metang, and Metagross are a really solid evolutionary line, and then this just feels like a natural thing that Metagross could evolve into or transform into. It's subtle enough, but it's still its own thing. I would put Mega Metagross into like high S tier. Mega Latios and Mega Latias. Okay, genuinely, I don't understand these Pokemon. I know they went for purple because, you know, Latios and Latias are red and blue, that makes purple, but they're not fusing into one thing. So why make them purple and indistinguishable from one another? I don't get this. The designs are cool, okay? Mega Latios and Mega Latias are sick designs, but I don't get why they didn't just maintain their original color. That would have been a nice progression. It would have been a natural step up, but no, for some reason they had to make them indistinguishable. I don't understand what the idea was here. I think if they made it to where like two Pokemon could fuse and it was just a Latios Latias thing and they became purple, that would have been cool. I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't understand. For me, these two go into C tier. The design is cool, but I have to rank it that low because it's like, dude, why? Mega Rayquaza. Okay, I've got a hot take on this one. I think Mega Rayquaza is very over the top, but because Rayquaza is Rayquaza, because it is such a generationally big and monumental Pokemon, it is one of the very few Mega Evolutions that I can excuse because Rayquaza truly is that important to warrant having a really over-the-top form. It's a legendary Pokemon. It's like the box art for Pokemon Emerald, which is one of the most beloved fan games of all time, and this design is also just really sick. As over-the-top as it may be, and however much it abandons its kind of original form, I don't even care because it looks really sick, and I'm gonna put it up into Z tier. I don't care what anybody says. Mega Lopunny. Okay, I ain't complaining that they made a Mega Lopunny, you know what I mean? I'm all in, but like at the same time, why? Why this Pokemon to give a Mega Evolution to? I don't understand what their ruling was on what got one and what didn't. But if I were to rank where Mega Lopunny goes, I think this does feel like a good next step for a Pokemon in that evolutionary line. But I think in terms of where I'd rank Mega Lopunny, I think this design works. It feels like what you'd see Lopunny evolve into eventually, and it feels like a natural step up in that evolutionary line. I think that it looks really, really sick. I'm all in. I'd put it into the S tier. Mega Garchomp. Garchomp, my absolute beloved. It's a great Pokemon. It's fantastic. I think that this Mega Evolution is great, but they do tack on a few too many spikes. I think the spikes on the chest would have been fine, but if you look at Mega Garchomp's design, there's also some spikes on the hips, but that's not enough of a complaint for me to want to rank it lower than I originally intended. I would probably put Mega Garchomp up into S tier just as well. Mega Lucario. This one has genuinely always confused me. Why does Mega Lucario have those little like tassel things that Giratina has in origin form? I don't get that. Is there some connection? I guess when you do look at the original design for Lucario, he does have his own little things hanging off the back of his head, so they just gave him some like frosted red tips or something, but I think this is a pretty solid design. They do add a few too many spikes for my liking, but I think Mega Lucario gets away with it a little bit more in my mind because there's already those little spike accents on the original form of Lucario, so I would put Mega Lucario up into S tier alongside Garchomp as well. Mega Abomasnow. We just giving anybody Mega Evolutions now, man, I guess. I would probably put this one into A tier. It's a solid next step for the Pokemon, but it's just like, I don't really care about Abomasnow that much. Mega Gallade. This one is what I wanted from Gardevoir. Not necessarily in the same direction, but like adding on things that feel like a next step for the Pokemon rather than just giving, you know, Gardevoir a bigger skirt. I think Mega Gallade is a solid next step from Gallade, but I think I don't love it as much as everything that I have in S tier. I do think it deserves to be like high A tier, up there with Ampharos and Medicham and Gyarados, but not quite up into S. Mega Audino. So this one feels like a next step from Audino, but I don't know why they decided to give a Mega Evolution to this Pokemon instead of just giving them another evolution. And that's a question that I have for like most Pokemon on this list. It's like, why not just give it another evolution rather than going all the way up to a Mega Evolution for it to kind of just remain the same size and like have a cooler design? It just like, I don't know, it just feels like you could have just made it another Pokemon in the evolutionary line. But I think this is a pretty cool design. I like this one a lot. I like the little swirl pattern on it. I would put Mega Audino up there into like solid A tier. I think it's a pretty good design, but it's also like, why? And finally, Mega Diancie. This one is really solid. I think this is a really good example of what a Mega Evolution should be because it feels like this is a really big version of what Diancie originally is. Diancie's already kind of like a small little crystal creature, and then this kind of just really expands on that, but in a really effective way that like genuinely feels like it is more than an evolution, but not being super over the top to where it's it's losing the original design. I would put Mega Diancie into like high S tier. It's a really, really, really good design. And with that, that is every single current Mega Evolution ranked from Z tier all the way down to F tier. Of course, when Pokemon Legends Z through A comes out, I will rank every single new Mega Evolution, but until then, let me know what you would change. Let me know how you would rank these. Let me know which Mega Evolution is your favorite. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.